Hello, Axel. Huge fan.
Good.
Right, I've read all the books. I've read Slash's book, I've read Duff's book, I've read some pretty dreadful books, but I'd really like to hear your version. Are you going to write a book?
I think so, possibly, yes.
Please do.
But it's tough because I haven't figured out how to word things in a way that doesn't just look like I'm being negative to everybody else or calling them a liar, or, because, it was with the first, Slash and I hadn't talked in 19 years, and when we did talk, I was like, dude, and he wrote a lot of stuff that didn't even happen, it's not real, and
What did he say?
So why did Axel feel that way, and what has he had to say in the past about Slash's autobiography that came out in 2007? We've kind of first have to talk about why Slash wrote a book in 2007 to begin with.
Why did you decide to write a book?
Well, what happened was, I've been approached about doing a book a bunch of times and had absolutely no interest in doing it. Didn't like the idea of it. I thought it was, for A, too final, to B, too self-involved and self-indulgent, and C, who gives a shit,
Yeah.
But in recent last couple of years, I say recent years, there's been a lot of attention sort of directed towards Guns N' Roses and the whole mystique or lack thereof of that band,
right,
and my involvement with it, and my relationship with my old singer, and rumors about the band reuniting, and everything was so matter-of-factly, and it's just part of this whole media blitz that's sort of touching on everything they can get their hands on these days. And I just got so overwhelmed with it, and finally got to a point where just doing regular press wasn't really helping, it was just making it worse. So I figured the best avenue I could take would to be just to write it down.
Set it straight kind of thing. Do you get sick of talking about Guns N' Roses now? Or like everyone saying, is it gonna come back?
Yeah,
you guys,
I'm sick
you
of
must
that, 'cause
get
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I usually would say just flat out no.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality is, I don't see it happening. I don't have any plans for it to happen. But
when you're on tour in Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver, did you actually write like journals?
No,
So you have to remember everything.
I just have to remember stuff. And the only thing I did have for any kind of reference really was old tour books. To get some sort of, and it was funny because
then it all comes back.
They sort of brings back memories.
Yeah. Was it hard for you to think back to those days and relive all those memories? Like,
no.
No, it wasn't? Because I thought maybe because you were over it, like you'd been through the addiction and all that, and now to like try and relive it and write it down might have been kind of tough. But
no, I mean, because it was all, I think, I don't want to get misconstrued. The book wasn't like the stuff that's in the book. It's not me whining about how tough it was. It wasn't a hard road. It wasn't a hard life. Or any of that. It was fucking great.
I read the book and just wondering if there's.
It was probably about a year after Slash's book came out that Axel made first mention of it. So he was doing a bunch of fan Q&As around the time Chinese Democracy came out, and he also did almost a 5,000-word essay basically talking about what happened between the old members of Guns N' Roses and himself. So he made a claim that Slash lied in his book. So in Slash's 2007 book, the guitarist claimed that Guns N' Roses' final recording sessions in the mid-90s were stalled due to a vast musical direction between himself and Axel, to which Axel responded, "I have the rehearsal tapes and there's nothing but Slash-based blues rock," and he stopped it to go both solo and try to completely take over Guns. I read all of this. If Axel would have put words and melodies on it, it could have. I was specifically told no lyrics, no melodies, no changes to anything, and to sing what I was told or F off. Axel went on to say that was all denied, and I didn't walk until several months after having 3 to 4 hour phone conversations nearly every day with Slash trying to reach a compromise. Now, he also went on to say towards the end of his letter, referring to some of the songs that the band wrote together, he said, yes, Slash was in Guns and on Jungle, and the whole I came to him for his riff is as much crap as him saying he brought Locomotive and Coma to me as complete songs, and he has the rights to perform it, but not to be represented in this context in association with Guns. And he was also referring to the whole Guitar Hero mess in the same quote. Now, Axel wasn't the only one who was upset with Slash's book, so about a month or so after the book came out, Jetboy, some of their members actually gave interviews and said that Slash contradicts himself in his book. So Jetboy guitarist gave an interview around November 25th, 2007 with a website called bringbackglam.com, and The guitarist for Jetboy is a guy named Billy Rowe, and here's what he had to say. So Bring Back Glam was asked Jetboy's guitarist, do you know that Jetboy is mentioned several times in Slash's new autobiography? To which Billy said, yeah, that's a very interesting question. We played LA Friday and Las Vegas on Saturday, and a good friend of ours, he's 25, a huge fan of the band, he helps us out. Anyways, I stayed at his place Friday night, and he was like, hey, I got Slash's book. I looked at it, I just knew. I guarantee that we're in there, there's probably bits and pieces and good-sized chunks about Jetboy in the book, and it's like history repeating itself all over again. To which Bring Back Glam said, well, it seems like Slash was a big fan, to which Billy said, yeah, it's really interesting. Fern read the whole thing on the way to Vegas and back. It was so personal because Todd Crew, who was the band's bassist, died and was fired from the band due to substance abuse, mainly alcohol. We tried to get our manager in the band, and basically we were buddies, two bands connected at the hip. Actually, Fernie and I knew Axl and Izzy before Guns N' Roses even formed, and then once we got our bands going, well, Hollywood Rose was hanging on by a thread. Axl was like, dude, I got a new band, let's start doing shows together. Me and Izzy were pretty tight, and it's kind of funny. We were the two that introduced Todd to Guns N' Roses and got the whole connection going. And Todd ended up just looking at different things, a lot of partying, and when Todd joined Jetboy, he wasn't much of a partier. And it got to the point where we went to Guns N' Roses and said, Todd is going to die, he's bad off, you need to do something. And they were like, Todd's fine, we all party, you guys are tripping. We didn't know what to do. We were all meeting with labels, our producer was making comments that he was cheating the band, we were a team. And it was a hard decision, and to this day, I don't know if it was the right decision, but from that day on, the two of us, Jetboy and Guns N' Roses, were at war. 6 months later, Todd was dead, and Todd's family went after Slash. They hired a private investigator and all this stuff, and Guns N' Roses started bad-mouthing us all the way to the top. They became the biggest band in the world, and a year later they fired Steven Adler for the same reason. Is it the pot calling the kettle black? I say yes all the way around. It's very personal, and I think they have guilt. They know we went to them. He was only 20 years old, and he was doing too much, and he died, and it's a real shame. And when I read the book, there's a lot of stuff in there that isn't true, and it bothers me, and Slash wants the last laugh. To which the interviewer said, what's untrue? And Billy said, first thing, he gives us props, referring to Slash, but then he says, I don't like the band very much. To which the interviewer said, well, he doesn't like glam. To which Billy responded, well, I've got photos of that guy wearing lipstick, huge hair, and fishnets up his arms. Whatever. He says stuff like their lead singer had a mohawk, so that makes them less transparent, like Poison. Earlier in the book, he talks about auditioning for Poison while he was still in Guns N' Roses. He contradicts himself. He says he doesn't like glam, but he auditioned for the glam band that was doing the best at the time because he obviously wanted success. And when he says he didn't like the band, that isn't true. We were all friends and we all supported one another. Axl used to trip on Mick, and Mickey used to wear the chaps, then Axl started wearing the chaps. The whole overdose situation that Todd died in Slash's arms and that he, referring to Slash, swears someone else was there and gave him some bad dope, Todd wasn't very experienced. The bottom of the line is that the guy OD'd and they revived him and then they put him back to bed. What kind of idiot doesn't call for paramedics right away? From what I know, the truth is after he OD'd, they revived him, Slash panicked and left. They, referring to Guns N' Roses, came back and found him dead, and that was their alibi. It makes complete more sense than him dying in Slash's arms when he's high as a kite on dope, probably facing possession, and he's got not one charge, nothing. There's definitely some loopholes in this story. To which the interviewer said, so after Todd died, you never had anything else to do with Guns N' Roses? To which Billy said, after Todd was out of the band, they were headed towards their trouble. They wanted to fire Axl several times, and before they even did a record. We had issues with these different singers as well. I kept up with Izzy, and he's definitely the guy who started separating himself from the band, especially when they started to get success. I remember we got thrown out of a Guns N' Roses show in the Bay Area. Jetboy had just moved back to San Francisco. It was around 1991, and we were pretty good buddies with Skid Row. They were touring with Guns N' Roses, and we went to hang out at a show with them, and we were backstage, and here comes Axl walking by. And basically Mikey said, hey, Axl, what's going on? We kind of, did a makeup thing. They made a public apology at the Cat House one night in 1988, but we didn't hang out like we used to. And they were blowing up so big, and they were always on the road. 10 minutes later, I saw some crew guy go up to Skid Row's guy and whisper in his ear, and I just know the crew guy talked to Rachel Bolin, who's Skid Row's bassist, and he was like, what? And he came over and said, dude, you've got to leave. Axl said he won't go on until Jetboy is out of the venue, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was almost like a slap. Get out of here and watch what you ain't got. And the next day I ran into Izzy on Height Street. Me, Mick, and Rachel and my sister were all shopping around. My sister's like, hey, there's Izzy. And I was like, F that. And I walked out the door, but before I could get out of the door, he started yelling my name. He said, dude, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I had nothing to do with that. And you know it's not me. If you want to come tonight, you can be my personal guest. It's totally good. Once that happened, I knew it was Axel and it was all over Todd. And he was never around. He was always on his own world. And it was another drama situation to embellish and be part of to use his wackiness. And I never understood that. So that does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button and subscribe. And go check us out at gnrcentral.com for the latest Guns N' Roses news. Take care.